The future belongs to those who dare, those who will do extra. Hi, I'm Mark Croskery. Welcome to Business Dive Extra, the program that looks beyond dollars and cents to the movers and shakers in business and the capital markets. Today's guest is a dedicated financial expert who has one clear motive. He believes in offering Jamaicans the best financial solutions and a client-centered banking experience second to none. He defines success as being able to establish a balance in life while contributing to family and society and just giving it your all. He has a career of over 25 years in banking where he has served in several leading banking roles. He holds an MBA and a bachelor's degree in business and professional management from the Huizenga Business School, Nova Southeastern University, Florida. And he completed executive training at UPENN Wharton Business School and has served as treasurer and president of the JBA, Jamaica Bankers Association. Joining us today is Jerome Smalling, CEO of Jmmb Bank. Jerome, welcome to Business Dive Extra.
Thanks for having me, man.
No, it's great having you. All right, Jerome, it's great having you on BLE. And, we had Jmmb Group CEO, Keith Duncan, once before. And it's the first time now we're having, a CEO of the group company and now the subsidiary. So it's fantastic.
Happy to be here.
I know. Big shoes to live up to.
Well, what can I say? I mean, we're well trained.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. Jerome, tell us about your early years getting into finance. What appealed to you about the finance sector versus maybe becoming a doctor, an attorney, an engineer? What drove this passion into the financial sector?
Well, I suspect it occurred out of convenience. I graduated school and I got more or less a holiday type role with NCB in Ochers. And it extended beyond the time, and I was in banking for a little there, and then I switched to Scotiabank. Okay. I can't say my performance at NCB was stellar, but I got a second chance at the Bank of Nova Scotia, right there in Ochers. I remember Kingsley Simpson was the branch manager, and Rosie Pillino, who is Rosie Spence at the time, who decided to give me, a second shot at building out a financial career. And just work, studied, pursued courses in finance, banking courses, and then, progressed up the ladder, so to speak.
So were these summer jobs or like internships, or you kind of got flung into the workforce from a really young age?
From a really young age.
And just had to do what you had to do?
I just had to do what I had to do, basically. But, so like my brothers were already pursuing, I have two older brothers who were already in university and stuff. So when I got the job, I was just working. I wasn't really thinking. I was planning that eventually I'll go into university. Yeah. And, just started to work.
And was it a case, Jerome, you had to be, was it you're helping yourself, you're helping your family, or was it a mix?
Well, not really. It was just helping myself, basically. I mean, it just turned out that way. Because really, I had not gone directly into university.
And when you look back, I mean, at that age, you said you were what, like maybe 17, 18, something like that. Let's say your teenage years. Did you actually have aspirations like, a lot of, guys or ladies say they're let's say in the bank and they want to become a manager or want to become a CEO. Did you actually have aspirations at that point to be the CEO of a bank, or was that not even on the radar?
Man, I just wanted to collect my checks so I could go and party or do something. Yeah. But to be honest though, I was influenced by same Kingsley Simpson. He had gone to UTech and done a banking course, the AIB out of England. Okay. And he spoke to me about it, and I always thought that okay, I'm working in a bank, maybe I ought to pursue some courses that would help me along the way.
So that gentleman, in a way, he became like a mentor for you?
Well, yes, he is.
You're still in touch with him today?
I spoke with him last week.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And how important would you say he was in your life, and mentorship? I mean, how important is mentorship?
Well, mentorship is key. I think mentorship, and that is why I have a lot of time for younger folk, because I benefited tremendously. I mean, I can list a long list of individuals who would have given you a second chance or would have provided guidance. People like Mina Israel, Wayne Powell.
Okay.
You know, these persons would have influenced, they would have taken the time out to say, okay, look, you know, here's a path. These are some of the things that you can pursue. I mean, Mina in particular was pretty good at protocols, you know, like which wine goes with what and all these things, which turn out to be important eventually, you know.
You find it like important with like prospecting clients and relationship management, a bit of everything?
Or just not embarrassing yourself in a public space. You know, you go to a formal dinner or something. I remember one key trick she gave us is how to manage business cards at a cocktail party. Because I had not thought about it up to then. But you know, sometimes you get a card, you meet somebody, you receive a card, and you put it among your own cards. And then when you meet somebody else and you go into your pocket, invariably you're coming up with somebody else's card instead of yours. And you know, she gave us this neat trick of ensuring that you're managing your pockets. You have your cards in your left and you put new cards in your right, and you'll never ever have that challenge. So basic little things like that were as important as complex financial conversations.
So you're being mentored by, you know, lots of great names.
Lots of great
Lots
names.
of little things that then built up.
Yeah.
And, you know, you went to Monroe, Jerome.
Yes, I did.
And it's interesting, you know, Campion, very well known, especially in the business sector, corporate sector. But as of late, I would say, you know, just from an analytical standpoint, Monroe has really kind of emerged, you know, in the public sector, the private sector. A lot of, you know, kind of wins for Monroe.
Yeah.
What's driving that?
Well, I think we've always been around. I mean, I think Monroe, we're a little quieter than some of the other schools, but we've always been around. I mean, there are certainly a lot of very outstanding Monroe guys, but they aren't as, I'd say, out there as some other high schools. But they're pretty, you know, a number of guys who would have been outstanding.
What do you call it? Like, if you went to Monroe, what do you call it? A Monrovian, or what's the
Monrovian.
Monrovian.
Call it Monrovian.
Okay.
Of course, you know, it's one of the oldest schools in the world.
Yes.
Well, sorry, not the world. In Jamaica, certainly.
In Jamaica.
Yeah.
But some people say Jamaica is the world. You know?
Well, what can I say? Forgive me. Probably is, but it's among the oldest schools in Jamaica.
And what was some of the, you know, main things that you found, you know, helped you, you know, get to where you are today from, you know, Monroe and from your, you know, early formative years? Well,
you know, certainly at Monroe you'd have had the exposure of past students coming back, you know, a really strong alumni. So you had persons you could look up to who would have been blazing their own trails in different spheres. And, you know, you had that influence, as well as I boarded, actually, because I grew up in Ocherous. So I lived on campus for the 5 years that I attended. And I was exposed to everything, like team sports. I mean, I think team sports, that's very key in terms of leadership and development and interpersonal relationships, as well as the environment created almost an atmosphere wherein you could not fail.
Yeah.
You know?
No, the Smalling name is really from Westmoreland, right?
Or St. Elizabeth.
St. Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But you pivoted to Ocherous at some point.
Well, I think my granddad left St. Elizabeth when he was very young.
Okay.
And so, you know.
So he was an all-island traveler.
Pretty much.
All right.
And so that's where I ended up growing up. But my mother, her family dates all the way back to very early in Ocherous, in St. Anne, basically.
All right. And one of the things that we picked up on, Jerome, is that you spent, once you got into the financial sector, you spent a lot of time now, whether it was overseas, and doing a lot of executive programs.
Right.
And is this something you're pushed in, or something that you really decided to do yourself?
Well, the thing is, as progressing through, you know, the bank I worked at for the longest, about 19 years, different opportunities came up, and you wanted to round out your skills and your, you know, and to match your experience to like formal training. So I would take the opportunity to pursue different things. So that's how that occurred.
Right.
As well as your mentors would say, you know, maybe you need to look at this thing.
Is there any point in that, you know, 19-year horizon where you kind of said, this is a bit kind of boring, it's going a bit sideways, or, frustration sets in, like what happens to a lot of executives. Maybe you didn't feel valued at, one of the institutions. You're at Jmmb now, of course, and it was kind of a breaking point.
Well, not really. I mean, I think what was good for me and what I was very appreciative for is the fact that I would have worked in several different communities, several different towns in Jamaica. So it didn't get boring. I always had the opportunity to, once it started to get boring, I'd move to a different city or so. So I'd have worked in Savlamar, Junction, St. Elizabeth, Lucy, Hanover, Manchester, in Clarendon as well. And of course, I would have started out in Ocherus. Okay. And then most of my time, different branches in Kingston. So I always had that, chance to move from location to location.
And there's a point where you're actually overseas. You spent some time in Canada. Right.
That was subsequent to Scotia. So my mentor I referred to, Mina, she had moved over to RBC. Right. And she gave me an opportunity to come across. Made it interesting.
Was that kind of right at the point right before RBTT, or?
Well, when RBC acquired RBTT, that is when that occurred.
Right.
And so I spent 2 years here as in two different roles mainly, as VP Sales and Service, as well as at some point as managing a number of branches as a regional vice president. Right. Then I got the opportunity to go to Toronto, to RBC National Office.
Right. So one thing, Jerome, although you're quiet, you're known for being very quiet and humble, is you're a great relationship builder, because really you've kind of moved in sync with each mentor into, different opportunities.
Well, as they present themselves, I look at it, and I've always been given opportunities, so I'm grateful for that.
That's great.
And I try to provide the same environment for younger persons I mentor.
That's great for your stakeholders. Oh,
yes.
It's great to hear. We're going to come back to that. We take our first break on Business Live Extra. More when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. Jmmb Bank is the 5th largest commercial bank with operations across Jamaica. Its parent company, Jmmb Group Limited, was founded in 1992 by co-founders, the late Joan Duncan and Dr. Noel Lyon. The Jmmb Group's entry into commercial banking in Jamaica was made with the formal transition of Jmmb Merchant Bank to the rebranded entity Jmmb Bank on August 14, 2017. The then merchant bank primarily focused on loans and deposits, and with the merger of the Capital and Credit Financial Group, has afforded its clients greater access to the full suite of solutions available through the Jmmb Group. Jmmb Bank offers a wide range of financial solutions, including deposits, loans, cambio, online banking, Visa debit card, corporate banking services, and customized solutions to service SMEs. Here to tell us more is Jerome Smalling, CEO of Jmmb Bank. Jerome, welcome back to Business Live Extra.
Happy to be here.
So you're number 5 in the marketplace now.
Yes, we are.
Where would you be coming from? You've been there 10 years or so. Where are you coming from in terms of size?
Well, when we started out as Capital and Credit Merchant Bank prior to the rebranding, we would have been at the bottom. I believe maybe the other merchant bank that still exists would have been the only institution that would have been smaller than we are. And by smaller, I mean there's a significant gap between ourselves and the next financial institution up the ladder. So, I think we're about $12 billion in assets, and our loan book would have been about $6 billion. Okay. Small, we had 3 branches, and we're in Kingston, Montego Bay, and Ocherus. So that was it. Some 9 years ago.
And I forget that, and I think most people forget that. So it didn't start, let's say, as Jmmb Merchant Bank, but you did a deal and took over the Capital and Credit, say, merchant banking arm.
Yes, we did.
And that was how, let's say, what Jmmb Bank is today.
It is, right. I mean, that was a master stroke, and you know, I continue to applaud the leaders of Jmmb when they took that decision, because it has provided so many solutions to Jmmb as well as to the banking public of Jamaica. It provided the opportunity for them to go into banking and to show that banking could have been different, and that the client, you know, Jmmb, we speak a lot about love and the client being at the center of everything we do. And even when I joined 9 years ago, because my joining coincided with the establishment or the acquisition of Cap and Credit, you know, and I first heard about this love and client thing, and I'm like, no, we're in this thing to make money. But they are able to really and truly put the client at the center of everything that they do.
And that's still, you would say, Jerome, you know, that's still at the core today. That's still whether it's a slogan, the message, that, you know, that love, you know, word or just message is still in the meetings today.
It is. In fact, all our meetings start with a reading from what we refer to as the vision of love, which is really an expression of the Jmmb team in terms of how we intend to go about our interpersonal relationship among ourselves, as well as how we interact with our clients. It really gives you the opportunity to be bold, to be who you are, to pursue the fullest potential that you could have inside, whether it's with Jmmb or externally. So it's very difficult to explain to traditional bankers.
Yeah, and what do you think? I mean, so many companies have struggled with that. I mean, you've seen General Electric, you know, way kind of fall by the wayside after Jack Welch. I mean, but you see so many even local companies struggle with it. I mean, after, you know, not even just first generation, second generation, or even public companies. What do you think has been that glue, or how has Jmmb been able to hold that message together for so long?
I think because of how important it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, we benefit from being 30 years old. So many of our executives today were with the company. Many of them would have been involved in the crafting of the vision of love. So we still have individuals who are able to transmit that information to new hires. But we also have an orientation process wherein, you know, our onboarding includes orientation a week or 2 weeks prior to actually walking into the office. So you're learning about Jmmb, you're understanding what Jmmb represents. And our selection process as well is really a lot around how we intend to deliver these services to the public. And so we've been able to maintain, and as we've grown, we've been able to find the right fit in terms of employees, and we've been able to maintain to a large extent what we represent as a company.
And how many branches, you know, you mentioned 3 branches, you know, let's say 2012 or so. How many branches now are they in the bank network?
We're up to 8 branches. So what we did is wherever we had investment locations, we established a banking location as well. And so we're able to pretty quickly expand our footprint across Jamaica.
So there's a mix. You might have a standalone bank location, or you have like a bank within kind of your group locations.
Well, given what we refer to as our integrated financial services model, we only have one standalone bank as at today, which is in Mobe. Beautiful building on Church Street. Those are a lot of business for us as well. But all our other branches are offering integrated service across our business lines with clear demarcations to ensure that we aren't breaching any laws or any protocols established by the various regulators.
Right. Okay. And I mean, in terms of like ABM network or ATM network,
right?
I think you might call it ETM or something like that.
No, well, we just launched so what we did was we had the ETM. We called it ETM because it was specific to the investment company, and that it was a proprietary card. So only those clients, it was closed loop. Now it's a true ATM. We only offer, you can only access the machine if you're a Jmmb client.
Okay.
But the Jmmb client now has a Visa card, which gives them access
to wherever.
To wherever.
And is that a part of like the growth trajectory to build out more, let's say, Jmmb terminals, or call them ATMs?
Certainly, certainly. Our vision is that we will continue to build out our core banking functions. So anything that you'd expect of a financial institution of our ilk or size. We're looking at rolling. But as you know, digital is changing the way banking occurs, and it's changing fast. So even as a young guy growing up, actually putting a card in a machine and getting cash was pretty novel. It was, how did this work?
Yeah.
But today, most of what we're doing, you do not need to go to a physical location. So even the ATM, I mean, I'm not sure what it will look like in the future, but currently we just rolled out our smart ATMs, and our smart ATMs are able to access or to receive deposits and to provide instant access to your deposits. I mean, in the old days, those deposits would go into an envelope and they had to be verified. No, you can actually put your cash in and the machine verifies it.
I think it's something that some Jamaicans are, I won't use their customers, but some Jamaicans battle with at some of the commercial banks is, do you have to be let's say you mentioned deposits, do you have to be a customer of Jmmb to say deposit to another customer's account?
Of No, not with Jmmb. Certainly online you can transfer. We've always, even when we had our internet banking service, or internet service for the investment company, where you had your investment type products, we facilitated transfer to whichever institution. We aren't restricting who you want to pay where.
Okay.
We're actually facilitating that. So we do not see why we should restrict our clients in that regard.
Right. But let's say, whether I walked into the branch or if I walked into, I mean, as you said, you have these ATMs to try and reduce some in-store, or call it in-branch restriction. And let's say if it's even 15,000 Jamaican cash, can a Jamaican just come in and say, okay, I need to lodge it to Jerome's account, but I'm not a customer at Jmmb.
Oh, you mean Jerome has an account at Jmmb?
Right, but I don't have the account at Jmmb. Can I just lodge it into the ABM?
No, you can't. We aren't there yet.
You're not there yet.
But
okay.
I suspect at some point, and that would be driven largely by our network company, which we aren't a part of as of today.
You're not a part of the multi-link.
Of the multi-link.
Understood. Okay.
We hope to be, if they'll have us, but we aren't just yet.
Not yet. Yeah. But that could be in the making.
It could be in the making. The thing is, even with the introduction of the central bank digital currency, interoperability will become more and more a buzzword in terms of being able to transfer money across the network and to facilitate transactions of multiple sizes, very small transactions as well.
You mentioned that whole central bank digital currency, CBDC.
Right.
I mean, there's a perception out there that, okay, NCB owns it, but who actually owns it, or who operates CBDC?
Oh, no, that's run by the central bank.
So it's owned by, let's say, government, or it's...
Right, well, the central bank is pioneering, and it's really, a part of it is to eliminate cash and reduce the need to issue new paper currency, so to speak, physical currency, but also to facilitate economy across, a wide cross-section of individuals. Because as it is today, there are barriers to being a part, or there are barriers to financial inclusion. And the CBDC, one, will reduce the need for physical cash, as well as, lower that barrier for financial inclusion. So you can have, free flow of payments.
That's great. We're going to come back to that point. Sounds good. We take another break on Business Live Extra. More when we return with Jerome Smallin, CEO of Jmmb Bank. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. Over the years, Jmmb Bank's growth has outperformed the commercial banking industry. Jmmb Bank's growth has put them ahead of the local banking industry's 16.9% deposit growth rate as at June 30th, 2021. Jmmb Bank has grown from 21 billion Jamaican dollars in assets in 2012 to 151 billion Jamaican dollars as at September last year. In keeping with its strategic direction, during this financial year, Jmmb Bank recently received a $20 million loan from FinDev Canada. Jmmb Bank is geared towards supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, seeking funding. Still with us is CEO of Jmmb Bank, Jerome Smalling. Jerome, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
You know, just touching back on that whole CBDC topic, you know, I saw one of those releases or topics where it was something like a wallet of, I don't know, 2 million US or something like that, a couple hundred million Jamaican dollars. And, you know, are you bullish on it? Jmmb Bank bullish on it? I mean, it was a pilot phase. You know, the central bank said it's been successful. I mean, if you can say, where does it go next, or what's the evolution of it? Or, you know, for Jamaica?
Well, it will be successful, and the benefit is going to be based on the number of financial institutions that come on to using this. Eventually, we'll all do it, because at the end of the day, it is good for Jamaica. It gives, financial inclusion is always good, because the greater portion of your population involved in the whole economic cycle, the better it is for your country in terms of growth and giving persons opportunity to move from one level to the next. As far as Jmmb is concerned, we're currently working on our application, meaning our digital wallet.
And is that what they call like the sandbox, or is that something else?
We will migrate through the sandbox, but
okay.
Understand that prior to the establishment of the sandbox, what would happen is that you would apply for a new product or service. And in today's dispensation, invariably it's going to be a digital product or service. And you'd send on your application to the BOJ, and then they would try to determine how would it work, what does it look like, is it increased risk to the population or to the system. And then it would take some time for them to be able to determine whether or not it's a go. With the sandbox, as it suggests, you get the opportunity to almost pilot, for them to see it in effect.
Okay.
And for it to operate in many cases with real clients, real cases, to determine, okay, maybe we need to tweak this, maybe we need to do that. And that's where the sandbox, it's somewhere, it's a safe space for ourselves as institutions, or as well as the central bank, to kind of see some of these programs in effect
okay.
and in action.
And so, you know, listening to you, is it something where this whole CBDC will be kind of principally like the multi-link, which, you know, is everybody on the ABM network, and, you know, it's I don't want to use the word like it's like a club, but in other words, CBDC is kind of going to get all the banks maybe into this digital wallet, and then it will be protected?
No. I mean, the multi-link is the closest thing based on our history and our understanding, but it's totally different. It's run by the central bank. It is run by Jamaica for Jamaicans. So it's not going to be owned or controlled by banks, so to speak. We are invited, just like, well, closer than that would be the RTGS, which is our
the real-time
gross settlement service offered by the BOJ, where they're facilitating, you know, rapid movement of money and access to financial services for the population at large.
So if we see, you know, Twitter comes out every once in a while and somebody posts and says, ABC restaurant has gone cashless. I mean, is that the CBDC at work, or is that just contactless cards, maybe, that with a marketing gimmick or something?
It could be a combination it could be a combination of, because CBDC is not really up and running the way we want it to be running now, but it is going to help us to drive a cashless society. Handling cash, especially given our inflation rate, I mean, over multiple years, and also just the safety and security of walking around with cash. You know, you want to move away from that. But even for financial institutions to manage cash, physically manage cash, and to count and to package and ship, it's very onerous. And
absolutely.
Given that, you know, our currency rate and everything, you know, you need a lot of Jamaican dollars to do stuff. So, we'll need to probably address that. And I suspect that's one of the things that the BOJ is seeking to address.
And Jerome, given, you know, your previous status, you are the former president of the Jamaica Bankers Association.
Yes.
I mean, Bob Blake from NCB is the current president. So, I mean, you guys are in the know. Is there a timeline though? Is there a definitive timeline whereby you feel this whole, digital currency will be, fully there? I mean, is that next year? Is it later this year?
Well, the vision is, I think the only thing that could potentially restrict the pace at which it is rolled out is how quickly we respond. The banking sector responds by getting involved.
So like the members of the Bankers Association.
Right, the members of the Bankers Association.
Okay.
But remember, the Bankers Association isn't an organization that regulates banks or determines who does what. Each institution does what is consistent with their own strategic outlook.
Sure. Yeah. Net margins, ROE, ROI.
Well, those are some of the drivers, but not all. We have KPIs around ensuring that our clients are happy as well.
Well said. Well said. So what, looking at Jmmb Bank now and Jerome, what sectors would you say when you look at your credit risk and, what are you doing from a, ALCO standpoint, your asset liability committee? Any sectors you're looking at this year, next year, where you might be taking some more credit, from a Jmmb Bank standpoint or above average credit, I don't know, compared to last year?
Well, I'd say less as a sector and more a segment. So our SME, as you know, we're very bullish on the small and medium enterprise segment, primarily because we believe that if we are able to fuel growth in this segment, we'll be able to fuel growth across Jamaica. Understanding that, I mean, we're originated in Jamaica, we're head office in Jamaica, although we operate also in TT and the Dominican Republic as at today. We are very bullish on helping Jamaica to grow. And so we have decided at the highest level to take additional risk in the space. So we've taken on risk in terms of partnering with these multinational companies, IDB, FinDev, to provide funding to the SME. Now, it's not free funding anyways. We have to pay them back. But we have taken the decision to take some risk in the SME space. So even and sometimes you say, what does that look like? I mean, even as granular as saying, look, we're prepared to take a higher delinquency ratio in this segment than the others to give the opportunity, to give the segment the opportunity to grow. As you know, we would have established as well or resource center, which is geared towards helping small and medium enterprise to organize themselves to be prepared for, mainstream banking, or just to understand in many cases, what it takes to run a successful business.
Sure.
So that's where we're
And walk us through this Canada FinDev. So is Canada FinDev similar to, say, IDB Invest, or
it's similar but different. It is they seek to provide funding across a range of segments, and they have certain things that they focus on. For example, they are trying to drive inclusion of female businesses or female business owners.
Yes, okay, I saw that.
Right, and so this tranche of funding through the FinDev has a caveat around, or focus on.
But is it like, Jerome, is it like, as a bank, you provide a guarantee, or is it like a long-term, like a 10-year payback, or do you match it as Jmmb, or like what's some of the criteria or the vibe like around it?
Well, the thing is, interestingly, we've always been focused on SMEs, and we've always been open to facilitating women in business. And so when we established the relationship first with IDB, and they created a benchmark to say, okay, you need certain % of your portfolio to be to include women who are leading businesses, and they have their definition of what does it look like, whether it's % of management, % of board, or who started the business, who owns the business.
It's not just saying that, let's say it's a chairperson or a CEO. It might have.
Right. You have different things to determine what is considered a woman-led business. And so when they came down and they looked at our portfolio, they were like, but you're already doing it. And we're like, yeah, we're open to it. We established Her Wealth in 2017, and that has gone really well. I mean, a lot of female professionals as well, dentists and who are running their own office and require support, would have benefited from those programs.
Yes.
So So yeah, I'd say, you know, how it works is that it's a loan, but we work through technical support to ensure that we're meeting the objectives that we intended
to do. And how do you know, how does Jmmb define, let's say, SMEs? I mean, I've seen a national policy before. I've seen how DBJ does it. I mean, do you jump on with it with a national policy, or
it's the same? It's the same because the IDB. So all these the categories are defined by international standards.
Okay.
And so the IDB would have the same benchmarks as the BOJ, and we would adopt the same.
Okay. So if I saw this kind of Jmmb bank, you know, FinDev kind of article, and I said, you know, do I qualify? I want to be an SME with Jmmb. What's it like? I mean, is it certain revenues? Is it certain profitability, or how do I become an SME?
So you have your revenues. So SME is a very wide category, right? So small, medium size. So you have large, medium-sized businesses. I mean, with revenues up to, I believe, in the 400 million range, all the way down to small businesses who are running around, I'd say, about a 10, 12, 15 million range. So basically, you would call up your Jmmb rep or visit your Jmmb branch, and you would indicate your desire or what you're seeking to solve, and then we would pair you with the right person, whether you're ready for mainstream banking or we need to have you go through the resource center to help you to get organized. So
understood. So it's quite a wide range.
It's a wide range.
Got it. So we're going to come back to that.
Okay.
Interesting. We take another break on Business Dive Extra. More with the CEO of Jmmb Bank, Jerome Smallin. Welcome back to Business Dive Extra. Currently, Jmmb Bank only offers debit cards. Due to the demand from their client base of more than 100,000 clients, the bank is planning on introducing a Jamaican Visa credit card by December of this year. 2022 marks the Jmmb Group 30th year anniversary and the 10th year anniversary since the group introduced banking to its clients. What next is in store for Jmmb Bank going forward? For a final time, we are joined by Jerome Smallin, CEO of Jmmb Bank. Jerome, welcome back to Business Dive Extra.
Yes, sir.
So, debit cards presently in play. We see them popping out of the restaurants, you know, the bars everywhere. We're very colorful. You know, lots of red on them, you know, compared to the rest of the marketplace. So they differentiate for sure. But credit cards. So is it real demand that's you know, coming into your, whether it's, you know, your tellers, your customer service reps? I mean, is there real demand coming in?
It's real demand. I mean, I don't think Jamaica needs necessarily another credit card because all the financial institutions, but our own clients are actually asking for us to provide them with this service. And so we are actively working through the process of being able to deliver accordingly.
Okay. And is it, you know, will it be, you know, we mentioned Visa, but is it pretty easy to just, you know, slap and dash on, call Visa, get a credit card done, or is there a lot of tech work and operational work that goes on to it?
And we have to always remember also that you're actually giving a product placement. Visa is one company that offers credit card. So our credit card may be Visa or not, but we already have a relationship with Visa.
I mean, it could be MasterCard, it could be somebody else.
It could be MasterCard.
Okay.
But we're working through the options. Just like any new product, would have to apply through the central bank. But credit card is an established product, so it's very difficult it's not very difficult for them to determine whether or not they'd give an approval for that.
Right.
But it's a part of our overall digital strategy as well, in terms of facilitating greater access for our client base. And so it's really around what is our client asking for and the extent to which we will go towards satisfying those desires.
You know, we've touched, of course, on a digital wallet earlier. We're talking about digital strategy, like maybe applying for credit cards without coming into a branch. I mean, you know, however that works with signatures or just, applications and just services digitally in today's world. How are you and Jmmb Bank working on this? The feedback on social media is always positive, about Jmmb, from what I've seen. But what's happening there this year, next year?
Well, put it this way: our digital strategy isn't driven by our desire to cut cost or anything. Our digital strategy is built around providing greater access to clients. Now, I suspect across the world, a number of financial institutions may have maybe erroneously communicated to the public that it's really around saving money and it's really around satisfying the objectives of the financial institution. And so in some cases, it may have gone down a little different. But really, from our perspective, digitization is really how can we help our clients to achieve what they're seeking to achieve. It's really not about trying to save money in our case. The fact is that you can't physically serve 100,000 clients in a branch network. As Jamaicans, and even with the introduction of more financial inclusion, we're going to need ways for persons to access and to distribute their funds. And that is what is driving our digital strategy. We will always have branches, well, certainly in the short to medium term, because if a client chooses to attend a branch, we should be able to facilitate that choice. So our digitization will facilitate everything from online account opening to all the transactions that you can do, application for your various products, and certainly the way you interact or the interface with your financial institution will be significantly different to how it is today.
And do you think, Jerome, of course, in compliance with the regulators and the regulations, is there a point where you mentioned earlier about the integrated financial advisor or giving integrated products, but talking about know your customer, like KYC, is there a point where the KYC, if you have an insurance product or investment advice product or banking product, does it know? I mean, is it allowed to flow across where you don't have to fill out forms 3 times, or do you still have to do the forms 3 times?
No, I mean, if you give permission and you have a rise of remote verification or remote support, so you have companies who are carrying a certain database.
In Jamaica?
In Jamaica.
Really? Like KYC companies now?
Who they aren't necessarily focused only on KYC, but they offer a number of services. Okay. And they provide support through that. So that's like a online kind of
emerging KYC compliance company.
Right.
That is keeping data if the client allows.
If the client allows. So there are a number of things that would have occurred in the space. One, the whole Data Act in terms of who owns your data, and the whole idea of can you do digital signatures. All of these would have been passed in Parliament. And most importantly for us, on this topic would have been the amendment of the POCA, the Proceeds of Crime Act, where the regulation is now saying it's not prescriptive. It's not saying you need to have, each financial institution has the authority to determine their compliance program. They have to rationalize it to the various authorities, but it's no longer prescriptive. And so even our case in assessing, most of our clients are actually low risk.
Okay.
And also, if you are an existing client, and we would have done the due diligence, it's much easier for us to facilitate.
So, yes.
Like online. So some banks in Jamaica are now facilitating certain transactions or certain applications for existing clients who would have already met.
Got it.
The KYC.
Yeah. And Jerome, you're now at 151 billion. We spoke about earlier. In total assets as at September last year. Closing out. You've come a long way. How do you, if you're number 5 now, how do you perceive yourself getting to number 4, number 3? You, the board of directors, is it through acquisition, organic growth? How do you see yourself, leapfrogging your nearest competitor?
Well, I mean, put it this way. Our objective is not to leapfrog competitors. Our objective is really to deliver financial services to as many Jamaicans as possible in the way that they want it delivered. That our growth is reflecting the tremendous response to that outlook. Clients, we aren't perfect, but clients like the fact that they can speak to us. They like the fact that as high as our group CEO or our bank CEO, they can access these individuals. They have their cell numbers on their business cards, and you can actually have a real conversation with your banker.
So I think, you know, it's known, and that's known. The service is excellent. There is access. So you grow organically, naturally, because persons come to Jmmb. But do you think you'll take a Sagicor approach and go and buy up everything and, you know, kind of go up that scale very quickly like what they did? I know you can't say it probably, but do you think you'll do some M&A over the next?
Well, the thing is, if we're always open to opportunities. I mean, the last big one in Jamaica really worked out really well, which is the Cap and Credit Group. And of course, from a regional perspective, we acquired a chunk of Sagicor. So we're always open to opportunities to acquire or to grow inorganically, because it's in our DNA. I mean, as you had indicated earlier, the bank come July of this year will celebrate 10 years since Jmmb would have acquired. And overall, come November, we'll be celebrating 30 years of Jmmb existence. And I believe, you know, Joan Duncan, you know, God rest her soul, will be proud of what Jmmb has become in 30 years. You know, we're still in a fight with institutions that have been around hundreds of years, you know. Do you find there is a vision board for the next, I don't know, 10, 30 years as well? Sure, we have our roadmap internally in terms of what we hope to achieve over the next 10, 15 years. So it's a company driven by a strategy.
Yes.
You know, if you even look at the acquisition of the Cap and Credit Group, at the time, you know, Cap and Credit, you know, they had some challenges, and I actually came back in the middle of that from Canada. I was recruited back to Jamaica to head up the then Capital and Credit. And a lot of persons had doubts, you know, like, Jerome, you leave your good job up in Canada, man, or what have you, to come and, you know, join this thing, and it's struggling, and do you really think that it could work? And I mean, that's after having the benefit of sitting in an interview, sitting in a discussion with Keith Duncan and Donna and Dr. and understanding what the vision was. And the people would be surprised how strategic they are, you know.
Because it's amazing how Jmmb is actually so quiet and does so much. Like, as you said, owning such a large Sagicor stake, a number of other stakes here in Dom Trinidad, but you're very quiet as compared to the other guy.
Well, that is a part of our DNA that we battle with at times, because in terms of, if you look at our benevolence, if you look at what we've given to the university and generally to the public, and how much we've invested in social programs, you'd be blown away. But it's coming all the way back from where we started, where we don't like to blow our trumpet around things that we do, you know, to drive the benefit of the society at large.
And it's clearly a part of that whole love theme and the secret sauce.
I'm not doing this thing because I want to be in the center of the middle page of the newspaper.
Right.
I'm doing it because we love our country and we love the individuals. We see a need and we want to address it.
Right.
So you know, going back to Joan Duncan, it was never, she was always very aware of, you know, like patting yourself on the back and making a big hullabaloo out of, you know, helping society to be better. So.
Well said. And with the 10th anniversary, 30th anniversary, I mean, Grace also came out with a big announcement on what they're doing. Will these anniversaries be like about the clients or about the staff? I mean, how do you see this shaping up?
Well, we're early stages of planning. I can't say I am really close to the planning stage, but but I believe it is significant. I mean, sometimes we get busy in Jmmb. You're trying to you know, succeed through serving our client base, and we forget, you know, that, you know, over a 30-year period, for a company that would have been started in one room of one apartment is what it is today. And so, importantly, we have to take the opportunity to look back and to celebrate what we have achieved and to potentially celebrate what we hope to achieve going forward.
As I say, it's good to remember these things.
It's good. It's good.
Jerome, it's great having you and seeing what you've achieved as well.
Pleasure is mine.
Great having you on Business Live Extra. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it for another edition of Business Live Extra. Remember, financial freedom is available to those who learn about it and work for it. We've been talking with Jerome Smalling, CEO of Jmmb Bank. Don't forget, you can watch us online at cvm.com/videos/Business Live Extra. Thanks for joining us.